I'd like to say, great old mate of mine, Dame Andrea Jenkins, Conservative MP, the first to have the courage to put her head above the parapet and say, actually, I've put my letter into the 1922, we need a leadership challenge. We hear rumours that others are following suit, Andrea. What can you tell us?
Yes, I mean, after Suella's letter yesterday, obviously was voting last night, I spoke to several colleagues, and I know 6 who have said to me that they're putting letters in today.
So that's 7 we now know about.
Yes, yeah.
And
that's if they go ahead and do it, but they seemed quite adamant.
And that is before, Andrea, the Supreme Court,
yes,
which not a bombshell to me, not a bombshell to Bev, probably not a bombshell to
you.
Well,
even the ERG's meeting tonight about Rwanda.
This is the European Research Group. These were the sort of Spartans in the Brexit movement, of which you were one.
Yes.
I mean, there's a great sense of frustration, but, I mean, do you really think the answer is to topple another Prime Minister and put in somebody else before in a general election? Number 4?
I know. I mean, look, I've really wrestled with this because, I mean, I've had lots of constituents contact me who are really frustrated. And actually, when I put my letter in, I've had hundreds of people from all over the country saying, thank you for doing this. But, yeah, I wrestled with this in the fact that we could look very stupid and toppling another leader, but I think we've got to bite the bullet now.
I agree with you, Andrea. I think you're absolutely right. I think it's about knowing when to cut your losses.
Yeah.
If you're in a race, you've got to know at which point you implement the next strategy. With Rishi Sunak in power, with this result today, with the letter from Suella Braverman, you're going to lose, and you're going to lose significantly. Absolutely. Because, as you say, I've never seen a government at the top of government that is so detached from people on the ground.
But also, Bev, I mean, for me as well, what I'm really concerned about is if we get Starmer in, if we see Starmer as the next Prime Minister, the damage that they're going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, look, he's got no scruples, has he?
And he's got no...
To back Corbyn twice to get into number 10. He'll do whatever in pursuit of
power. And he's got absolutely nothing to say on immigration. It'll be open all hours to everybody.
Oh, my God, imagine it.
Who, though... That's the point, Andrea. If you're going to get rid of him, who takes their place? And it's got to be done very quickly.
It has, yeah. I mean, first of all, I'll answer that, but I don't think it'll be that quick, unfortunately, given what happened last time. But who? Well, I want to back somebody who's got conviction, and to me, who's a true Conservative. And so it depends who puts their head above the parapet now and actually puts the name forward. But I don't want to split the centre right. If we have 4 or 5 candidates, there's more of the One Nation MPs, then we're going to end up with another One Nation. So we need to unite behind one person, ideally. So they need to put the political egos to one side. I mean, I haven't heard anything on this yet, but I'd love to see Pretty put a name forward. Right. Yeah, I mean, she's fantastic.
Well, she was the architect of Rwanda in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to... I don't know if she's even considering it, but I'd love to see her.
And what about Suella Braverman?
I mean, I think she's shown... immense strength.
Yeah,
but those two would split each other's vote.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
That's the worry, isn't it?
Yes, completely.
And doesn't that save Rishi Sunak in the sense that there's no obvious person to coalesce around as an alternative?
But he isn't on... Look, political egos, there's probably going to be several on the centre-left of the party as well, isn't there? And the centrists. I mean, look, James Cleverly, there's... we're hearing... I mean, when they're trying to make out that the Education Secretary is the next Thatcher... I can't see that. So you can see even on that side they're making manoeuvres. But it's a slow process. I mean, back in the Theresa May days, which we all remember those, I was the first person to resign of my lowly PPS position back in the May. And I remember arguing with colleagues, look, because I was on the Brexit committee, they're not preparing for no deal. You need that as a strong card to negotiate. And if you remember, it took right till the December for all the letters to go in to... and she won that first leadership ballot, didn't she? But the concern is now we haven't got that time.
But the other thing, you make that point about no preparation for a no-deal Brexit. What is staggering from Braverman's letter? There is no plan B for Rwanda. It is exactly the same. The same way Cameron made no contingency plans for us voting to leave the European Union.
But you know what's funny as well? Compare these two people. The membership didn't vote for these two people.
No.
They didn't get a chance.
That's right. And, of course, Suella Braverman blames this lack of plan B on his magical thinking. What a damning phrase, as though he's a sort of utopian thinker, but not in touch with how to make any practicalities work.
I mean, I think, my assessment, I was Rishi's PPS when he was a junior minister. Yes.
Did he strike you as a Tory?
I mean, I got on OK with him at that stage. But I think I just think he lacks a backbone. He probably wants to do stuff in principle, but he lacks a backbone to actually, do whatever necessary to get this.
He's a bit of a people pleaser.
Yes, I think so.
Who's he pleasing?
Well, certainly not the public, is it really?
Who is he pleasing? Nadine Dorries has written this book, which I know we've been taking the mickey out of, but she's been speaking very vocally in the last 24 hours about a dark cabal at the centre of the Conservative Party. A guy called Dougie Smith, whose name doesn't appear, seems to be being a very important guy. Is that what's happening inside the Conservative Party?
I don't know. Honestly, I'm not at that kind of level to know. I mean... but clearly there was plotting going on to get rid of Boris, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And even sort of things that I saw in the Whip's office, which I highlighted at the time to people that, this will damage the Prime Minister, got ignored. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was plotting going on because Rishi was their man. But also, let's not forget, the majority of Conservative MPs are the One Nation group. And, they didn't like the politics of Boris, of me, and of the ERG, etc. So, or Liz Truss. So there wasn't going to support an election-winning machine like Boris.
Can we ask you about the 6 who may or may not have put their names in?
Yeah.
Can you name any of them?
No, of course not.
Of course
no,
not.
gosh, no.
But you've gone public.
Yes. No, but even in Theresa May's time, how many went public?
No,
probably 10 people or something.
What do you think they can do now, and blimming quickly, to stop these blimming migrants surging across the channel? Because what's happened today is going to lead to a massive uptake, I think, in the numbers crossing in the next few weeks.
Oh, exactly. And also, I mean, in my inbox, it's the biggest thing. And I'm like up north. I'm nowhere near near the sea. Yeah. Exactly. And what can we do now? I mean, I did a petition with Conservative Post a couple of months ago, and already we've got 35,000 signatures to come out of the ECHR. Right. And I think the measures that Suella put, we need to do. And she's a lawyer. She must know. Yeah. She must know the legalities of this better than I can.
David Cameron in there now as Foreign Secretary, obviously quite a big fan of the ECHR. What did you make of his appointment?
I mean, I like Cameron and I like Osborne. They were so supportive to me in standing against Ed Balls. Now, so I'll never forget that. But it sort of went down like a bucket of sick, as they say up north, in my red wall seat, because Cameron will be, forever known in these red wall seats as somebody who resigned because he didn't like the referendum result, the democratic referendum result.
The architect of Project Fear, which lied at public expense.
Do you remember that leaflet that came out? Exactly.
I do, and he got Treasury civil servants to lie on our behalf. I talked to some people...
I think he'll do a good job as Foreign Secretary. However, I just think it's a ridiculous appointment. And I'll tell you what is ridiculous as well. A storm is brewing in the party. Clearly it is.
Yeah.
And what do they do in these recent appointments? They put the most inexperienced people, as in the 2019 intake, into the Whip's office. Yeah. Surely you need the old guard in there, to protect the Prime Minister when a storm's brewing.
When I did this piece in the Mail the other day after Cameron's appointment, I spoke to a number of Tory MPs from Red Wall, said, he is not coming to my constituents in the election. I said, who? David Cameron? They said, no, Rishi Sunak.
Oh, absolutely.
That he's becoming so negative, and there was even speculation, they were talking even then...
That's why it's time for a leader. Bite the bullet.
Yeah, as to whether they would put his face in their literature. Yeah. Will he be all over your literature, Rishi Sunak?
No.
Rishi Sunak won't be?
No, it hasn't been the last 12 months, no.
Has he not?
No, of course not, no.
So it's about you and the Conservative values, but not him?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And how many people do you think feel like you do, Andrea, but aren't saying it? I know you said you've spoken to 6 who you suspect will submit letters. Do you think the number must be so much bigger than that? Because this impacts on all of your livelihoods.
Yes.
If he gets this wrong, this changes all of your lives. All the MPs who've worked so hard, walking the streets in the rain, knocking on doors, trying to represent your constituents.
I mean, to me, it's not about us. It's about the people we represent, because we stood on this manifesto. I mean, the animal rights stuff, he binned. And so we stood on a manifesto. We stood on a manifesto to, really look at different funding models for the BBC, didn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pro funding the BBC. And, when we're not delivering on these things. So I think the least, what I'd like to see happen is where there's a vote of no confidence within the 1922, then that will hopefully at least wake him up to realise he can't go on. But what I really want, obviously, is a new leader.
How quickly do you think this could happen if it multiplies? I mean, you've got the ERG meeting tonight, there'll be other meetings. People will go back to their constituencies at the weekend, Andrea, and there'll be rage about this.
Well, no
and the
doubt
rage
the
that there's
whips
no
will be
plan B.
working their socks off to get around the tea rooms and everything to persuade people to stay calm, back the Prime Minister. That's their job. So I'm not sure, Andrew. It depends how many have got the gumption to do it. I know they're fearing for the seats at the moment.
Of course.
And they're frightened of a snap election, which any of us are. But to me, we're limping to failure at the moment. And as you said, Bev, we've just got to take hold of this, and it's do or die, I'm afraid.
Do you sense that that's going to happen?
It's too early to say. I think because obviously I put my letter in Monday evening, Suella's yesterday evening, and now this today. I think we'll know more today.
Have you spoken to Suella?
We've WhatsApped.
How is she? Send her our love.
Oh, I certainly will do, definitely.
How is she, genuinely?
I want that kind of conversation.
Right. What do you think, knowing her as a friend? She must have felt
I think
very
she's probably
satisfied.
relieved. I think she's probably relieved.
To be out of it.
Yeah.
And writing that letter must have been very cathartic for her.
Oh, my gosh, exactly.
But also, she would have to be in the Commons later today, defending what's happened.
Yes, exactly.
When we know from her letter...
Probably a lucky escape for her.
Yeah, she warned the Prime Minister, if you don't sort out the human rights...
She's in the chamber asking a question.
But, I mean, she did say, didn't she, if you don't sort the human rights stuff out, this isn't going to work.
I agree with you.
Right.
Andrea Jenkins,
Thank
it's a
you
joy
so
to have you
much.
on.
Great to have you
the
here.
first one to go public with the letter, telling us now that at least 6 more
It's funny, isn't it?
have put letters in.
It's often the women who have to stick their neck out first of all. Well done, Andrea.